but it's going to be the most difficult thing, an overwhelming thing you have ever experienced in your entire life. It's not about what you want. It's about, are you capable of becoming the person who can do it?
Wanting to succeed is easy. Wanting what is required of you to succeed is the hard part.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, where we asked you a simple yet profound question: is your imagination holding you back? Today, for episode number 505, we are going to talk about the darker side of success. Get on the damn mic.
All right, so for those of you on YouTube, I was
Showing the fat heads.
showing the fat heads, but also,
Hey, what about me?
Amy created for us a Next Level University picture frame. Yep, and it's actually pretty awesome for 500 episodes, and so we just showed that on YouTube.
It's a heavy YouTube week.
Yeah,
we have some visual cues.
For anyone who's on iTunes, I really apologize for how obnoxious we've been for wasting your time.
Yes.
But that said, I also want to read a review, which I will get while Kevin holds space.
Yeah, I'd love to. So this is me holding space. Mm-hmm. I hope everybody has a great holiday season. And I hope everybody is still dream chasing, because I know a lot of people right now are just kind of hanging out.
Right.
And not for us.
Okay, so this review
I did well.
on iTunes, and by the way, if you're out there, please, Kevin and I, Jeff, we should have asked for more reviews, because that's definitely a key indicator of a podcast's success. And we are a very successful podcast, and we're very blessed to have hundreds of thousands of listens, but we have not been asking for reviews. So we are trying to rectify that so that we can be seen as Next Level.
We know you guys are out there, so if you would do us a favor and leave us a review, that would mean the world, and it would help us. It's a win-win-win. We provide as much value as humanly possible here, and we just want to keep providing value.
Thank you so much in advance for that.
Love you.
Okay, so these guys are the real deal. 5-star review.
That's true.
By Summer, and I won't use last name. It's not the Summer that we've had on the show. Different Summer. This podcast will, in all caps, change your life, because it will change the way you think. You are literally investing into yourself every second you spend listening to Kevin and Alan. I know firsthand how much they give of themselves and of their hearts for this show. This podcast is going to be bigger than Joe Rogan's one day. Just watch. Wow, I love the belief that she has in us. That's fire. So we appreciate you so much, Summer. If you're listening, thank you so much.
Fire. All right, so why are we talking about what we're talking about today, episode number 505, the darker side of success?
So Kevin and I have a couple rolling themes on this podcast. One of them is growing pains, and this is, I think, the third time we've done the darker side of success. And the reason why is because every now and then Kevin and I will get frustrated, I think, with the new awareness that we gain of what it really requires to succeed in business and in podcasting and in chasing your dreams. You know, there's something referred to as the survival bias. And what does that mean? So statistically speaking, and Anthony Trucks talked a little bit about this when he was on the show, statistically speaking, out of all the people who want to be in the NFL, statistically speaking, it's a very, very, very small percentage of people that do make it into the NFL. And so, for example, if you've ever heard Tom Brady, his name, and you've ever heard his story about how he was a 200th draft pick, that's a really empowering, beautiful story. But what you need to understand is that there's something referred to as a survival bias, which is Tom Brady's story is being told. Why? Because he was the one that made it. You're not hearing about the Tom Bradys who didn't get the chance when Bledsoe got injured, you know, and didn't have 6 Super Bowl trophies, right? You're not learning about the people who were so close but didn't make it. And I think that it gives a skewed perspective a little bit on, you know, what it really requires to succeed at the highest level. And I think Kevin and I are all about the truth. We want to be all about the truth, and we can't just be optimistic all the time. We have to tell you the truth of what it really requires of you to succeed, and I think that's what this is about.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we can both look at our clients, and our talks with our clients are a lot harder than they are like we're not jumping on here every week and telling you guys you're screwing up and you should be doing this more or that more. But honestly, sometimes I think that's more important.
Right.
Right? Like us jumping on here and saying like, look, whatever it is you want to accomplish is probably going to be way harder than you understand because your level of understanding and awareness just isn't there yet.
Right.
What we've learned from, episode 0 to 100 and then 100 to 200, 200 to 300, all the way up to where we are, I could never explain it to somebody because if your level of awareness isn't high enough to understand what I'm explaining to you, it's just going to be like, oh yeah, that sounds like it's pretty hard.
And we're still in that boat right now.
Of course.
And that's the dichotomy, the duality. We are right now not aware of what we're not aware of.
Right.
And so we need people to tell us what we're not aware of. Right? I remember you asked Dave Meltzer that question. You said, how do I know what I don't know, Dave? And he said, that's the thing. You kind of don't.
I said, how do I know what to ask you?
Right. If I don't know what to ask
If I don't know what to ask you.
Right. So
strange.
You basically mentioned from 100 to 200, or no, from 0 to 100 versus from 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 400 to 500. You basically said, I don't know how to explain it. Can you try?
It's required way more of me than, okay. And this is going to be a little bit hardcore.
Can I challenge you to talk about all the different versions of Kevin? Kevin before the podcast, Kevin at 100 episodes, Kevin at 200, Kevin at 300, Kevin at 400. Now, this is a hypothetical kind of, but or not a hypothetical. This is you going off of where you believe you were at each stage. But I think that for the listeners, it's going to help them understand what they might not be aware of yet, that if they were aware of it now would help them. And I want you to try to, I've seen you evolve so much. I think absolutely, brother. I think it's really important for our listeners to be able to understand what took you probably longer than we would have liked.
Yeah, for sure.
Me as well.
0 to 100, Kevin was smoking weed all the time, thinking that being an entrepreneur was super easy.
Can we do even before the podcast?
Before the podcast, Kevin was smoking weed a lot. No belief. I had no belief in myself. I was working as a construction foreman, traveling all over the place. Not a serious relationship. Like and Taryn and I always joke about this. I had friends with benefits. Like that's kind of where my love life was going. Not happy, miserable, no discipline. I was disciplined in the gym and when it came to eating. I knew nothing about finance. I knew nothing about relationships. I didn't know anything about personal development. I was just lost. I was kind of lost. Okay, I was kind of lost. Alan interviewed me on his podcast with our buddy Andrew. I went and got my stuff. I ordered the stuff the next day. I had it within a couple days, and that was hyperconscious. That was that. And it's like hyperconscious.
R.I.P.
In the beginning, I was just interviewing friends and like literally drinking a beer at 10 o'clock in the morning, interviewing Alan for no reason.
You got me a Red Bull.
I got you a Red Bull.
I remember.
It was just fun. It was like the point of this right now is for fun. I wasn't even thinking about money because I was making money, so it didn't matter.
Right.
So from 0 to 100 was just like fun. Just a lot of hanging out. Just a lot of hanging out. Fishing.
Yeah.
Smoking weed again. Assuming I'd be like uber successful. 200 to 300 was probably a lot of the same. I don't remember when I quit smoking and all that. It's hard because I don't remember the exact dates, but...
Well, I think I have it fairly good. So from 100 to 200, we interviewed Evan Carmichael, and he said that we need to start upping the amount per week. We were doing one per week at that point.
Yeah.
I also believe that between 1 and 200, we lived in... Florida for a month. And what's interesting about this, remember, we amplified the rate at which we grew episodes, right? At one point, it was 1 episode a week, 2 episodes a week, 3, and then 4, and then 5. We've been at 5 for a long time. But, so it's not a linear time frame.
Right.
Like from 0 to 100 was a lot longer than 100 to 200.
I would say 300 to 500 has been the hardest.
Okay. Why?
Because the first 100, I didn't know what this was going to be, so I wasn't taking it super seriously.
Because which in hindsight was a mistake,
yeah,
you think?
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Okay.
Again, and I will always be honest and transparent, like I didn't make money from this show until we were over 100 episodes in.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because when we were in Florida, that's when I first started actually taking on clients.
Yeah.
So that was a long-ass time not to make any money, right? So number one, understand that like you might not monetize whatever it is you're doing for a long time. It might take a long time. Again, you'll probably learn sales quicker than I did and have more necessity than I did, but don't expect to just make money right off the bat.
What do you mean by necessity? For the listeners who don't know what that means.
I had money saved.
Yeah, exactly.
I had more money saved.
It's almost like you'll make money as soon as you need to. As soon as it becomes a must.
When you're forced to, you'll learn the skills.
Right.
When the pain is great enough, you'll learn the skills and get out of your comfort zone. I would do it proactively.
Right.
If I could go back, I would do it proactively.
You know what's interesting? And this is really hard for me to try to explain. But I love the idea of doing it proactively.
Yeah.
But would you have? Right. And this is the thing. The darker side of success is the name of this episode. So let me talk about this a little bit. Your relationship to pain. As a matter of fact, it's interesting. In the Next Level Nation Live that Amy and I are doing next, it's going to be your relationship to pain. Because, Kev, I believe the reason you were smoking weed, hanging out, having fun is because you had the cushion to do that. The moment that cushion went away, all of a sudden you started taking the podcast more seriously. Yeah. And it would be easy for us to say, oh, well, let's go tell old Kevin, dude, you got to take this way more seriously. But what's interesting is that you wouldn't have reached out to a mentor like you until you were in the hole.
It's true.
This is what I've never been able to fully articulate to people in a way that they can fully grasp. This is why I believe failure is the key to success. Because once you started really failing and feeling like a failure, that's actually when you started getting coaches and asking me questions and monetizing. I remember you came into the studio, what was actually my sister's old room at the time, the studio. Interesting. What a trip to circle back. And I remember you saying, like, dude, I need money. Like, I need help. Like, how do I do this? And I remember saying, like, well, one-on-one coaching. And I had already been coaching at that point, right? So I love the idea of be more proactive, go make money now. But it's this weird duality of you will regret it if you don't take it seriously now. But in a weird way, you can almost only take it as seriously as you must take it in order to get to your goal.
Yeah.
If you had a goal to make $100,000 in the first year podcasting, and you would feel like a failure if you didn't, there's your necessity. Yeah. Instead of like, we'll just be successful.
And I didn't believe it was possible. I didn't believe... That's the other part. I didn't believe that was possible, so it couldn't have been a goal.
Right.
Right? Like, I used to say, like, my goal... sometimes I pinch myself, and I'm afraid one day I pinch myself, and I'm not going to be doing this anymore. It was my goal to, like, stay. Right. For a long time, it was just like, how do I show up tomorrow? How do I... the most important piece of business advice you can give to somebody is stay in business. Yeah. Like that's one of the most important. Was that Dave?
Yeah, Dave.
So when it comes to the darker side, I think the important thing is most people, unless you ask somebody who's way ahead of you, you'll never hear this.
For the honesty.
You'll never hear this. Like, I've had people reach out. Okay, I'll give an example. And I have nothing but love for anybody who's ever reached out and said, like, hey, you're not being a good friend or anything like that. But I had somebody reach out and say, hey, I'm just disappointed because we haven't been talking. You're not answering my texts. Like, what's up? Like, I don't understand. And I said, honestly, I've just been busy. And I said, I'm not even going to try to explain to you, and this wasn't from a place of ego. I'm not even going to try to explain to you what my life looks like because I don't think you'll understand because you're not doing the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
But just so you know, I work 15 hours on Monday. I have $30,000 of credit card debt that I'm paying down that I accrued to start this business. I'm going to the gym 6 times a week. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. I have calls every day, like all day. Right. I said, just so you know, like it's not that I just decided I'm going to dip out of this relationship. Right. I'm just doing other shit.
Right.
I'm just doing other shit. And it's heavy. And that was my point when I sent the messages. Like, you don't understand the kind of pressure I'm under. You have no clue.
No.
And again, this is going to sound a little hardcore and my ego might flare here a little bit. But it's one of those things of like, I can't take advice from you because you have no idea what I'm going through. Because you've never even done it.
You've never come close.
And it's this weird thing of like, I have nothing but love and compassion for this person. And you guys, if you're watching or listening, you're going to have to deal with this. Of your family trying to give you advice. Like, look, you don't even know what a podcast is.
Right.
How are you going to tell me? And I've been blessed because my family is super supportive. But not all families are. Not all partners are. Not all friends are.
Yeah.
There's a reason people get left behind.
I remember I was in a relationship and I felt so misunderstood. Like in that situation you just described, you felt very misunderstood because this other person may have
almost offended.
Right.
But again, I understand you're not doing what I'm doing.
Right.
I would never know if I wasn't in this game what it was like to do it.
I know.
So I try to have empathy, but I also get a little offended of like, look, this is a lot.
Right.
This is not easy.
Well, there's a good way to frame it that I think will help people. Right now, okay, let's just throw out a name that everybody knows. Michael Phelps, okay? We have no idea, no concept whatsoever of how unreasonably challenging that dude's life has been to be the best in the world. 7 billion people, more than 7 billion, 7.5, coming up on it, in the world at this thing. So I try to remind myself of that often. And, you know, we see an athlete like, oh my God, all those gold medals, that must be so nice. That must be so awesome. Yeah, no, it is. It is. But do you want to be in the pool every day for 4 fucking years? And that's why I'm swearing, because it's like, yeah, it's nice to be an Olympic gold medalist. Yeah, it's nice to be sponsored by Subway. Yeah, it's nice to be the best in the world. But he spent 12 years in the pool doing almost nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's like you cannot want to be a gold medalist and not also want what comes with that. There's no version of a gold medalist who's just like, even Usain Bolt, he talks about it. Like the real work is behind the scenes. The race is the easy part. Like and I get fired up about this because I want it to be understood. I was in an intimate relationship that I had a really hard time with this because I felt so misunderstood. Because this other person has never started a business. They've never started a podcast. They've never really had an entrepreneurial journey of their own. When you've never been entrepreneurial and you've never been the only source of your own income and you had no cushion, it was very difficult for her to understand why I couldn't go away every other weekend. It's like, and with Emilia, it's unbelievably different just because she is an entrepreneur. She worked in real estate before we even met, which anyone who's ever worked in real estate, you are commission. You have to grind it out for every paycheck. Like, you understand, you're never off the clock. Emilia had to work from bed Saturday night, and she was like, felt bad. I'm like, babe, you're good. Literally, you never have to worry about that because I get it. Trust me, I'm going to need the same. And so one of the things we wanted to talk to you about the darker side of success is that if you really do want a level 10 life, you're going to have to go through level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have no idea how hard level 5 is until you get there. And you have to be unbelievably humble, unbelievably resilient, unbelievably emotionally regulated. That's another thing that I've learned how to do. And I think the point that I really want to drive home here is, I remember one time I was bawling my eyes out with this past relationship, and I said, have you ever started a business? I finally just broke down and was like, have you ever started a business? It was a little bit of an ego flare too, but it was also like a cry for help. Like, have you ever started a podcast? Like, it's really hard. I was like tearing up. Like, have you ever started a business? Like, do you know what it's like, to leave a cushy job with a amazing income and to drive a car you don't like and to landscape on the side just to pay your bills? And like, have you ever started a business? Like, do you know what that's like? And I was just bawling my eyes out because I just was like, oh my God. Like, and by the way, this person eventually did try to kind of start her own little thing, and she stopped. She tried podcasting, she tried reading books, she tried a YouTube channel. It's not what you think. It's really, really, I got to drive that home. It's not what you think. You are seeing people at the tail end of the journey. It's
exclusively.
Exclusively.
Yeah,
you are only seeing people at the tail end of the journey. And I am so passionate about this topic because you're not seeing Brendan Burchard when his girlfriend is sleeping underneath his bills. He tells the story about how that's when I knew I had to go make money. when he was writing books and not making any money, his girlfriend was literally sleeping underneath a pile of his bills that he wasn't opening. You're seeing Brendan Burchard on stage crushing it, making millions of dollars. You're not seeing the quote unquote, for lack of better phrasing, loser version of him. What are you doing, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he could have easily gotten a cushy job. And this is probably the most important topic in the world to me, because I feel like it's the most drastically misunderstood, and it's hurting people to believe that it's easier than it is.
Yeah. And we were talking today, like right now, and our goal and our intention, and we both said this, we don't want this to be a disempowering episode.
Right.
We don't want you to leave here and be like, oh no, I'm never going to succeed. That's not the goal.
Right.
We just want you to understand what it'll actually take for you to succeed.
Right.
Unless you have a coach who is ahead of you in the same thing or something similar.
Right. You don't actually know.
Most likely have no idea, because we didn't either.
Right.
And honestly, do I have any clue what it's like to host the Brendan Burchard event? Not even close.
No.
I have no idea what that's like to do 4 days straight
Right.
of keynotes without any prompts, just doing it. No idea.
The only extent we have awareness is Top Notch Live, which was one day where you gave one 30-minute speech.
Right.
We have no concept. And that's the thing. That's why we need a coach like Brendan. And I really appreciate you saying that, Kevin. I think that that's so valuable. This is not so that you don't chase your dreams.
No.
We want you to have the biggest dreams
I want
possible.
you to succeed. I actually want you to succeed. That's
Exactly.
why a lot of people don't talk about this now. And I'm not saying it's their intention to hide it. I think some people forget how bad it sucked
Right, because they're now.
because they're successful. It's easy to say like, it wasn't that bad.
It's
when
easy
you're
for me to forget what it was like not to be in shape.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Genuinely.
Right.
And
So-
you forget. You
course.
forget what it's like to not be
Of
able
course.
to squat
Yeah.
350.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
I just think it's important to tell you guys, like, what you see of us is almost always the positive side.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to only be that, because we wish more people talked about the struggle, and not for the reason to get attention.
Right.
We're not talking about this because we want attention. We're talking about this because we want you guys to understand, like, oh, okay, you and Kevin have had times where you cry, just bawling your eyes out to each other because you're so overwhelmed, or like saying, hey man, I don't know, I'm broke, I need to make money.
Right.
Like, it's, again, studio 500 episodes, these were all amazing things, but what it took of us to get here, I don't know that I could explain. The amount of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual pain that I've been through, financial especially,
Right.
is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. And I wanted to fight for a living. And I've been a bodybuilder who's literally starved himself,
Right.
To some extreme conditioning. And this is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Right.
I
I remember when Emilia started her podcast, the Y Power podcast.
Shout out.
Amazing. So good, honestly. 27 episodes in. So proud of them. I could literally feel her admiration for me increase, and it was already super high. And honestly, it is not that. I would say that I try to have a gauge on how much the value that someone perceives me, because if they don't perceive me as valuable, I'm not able to help them. It's like this weird thing. And so it's not because, she doesn't admire me. No. Emilia's always 10 out of 10 valued me. My last relationship, I remember asking myself a simple question. Is this person ever going to value and respect and admire me as much as Bianca does, as much as Amy does? And when the answer was no, I knew I had to go. And now, in hindsight, I know why. I can't influence someone who doesn't value me. And I'm not going to be able to coexist with someone who and work in perfect harmony with someone who doesn't see the struggles, who doesn't understand me. And I have some friends who their partner is not entrepreneurial. And one in particular, he's not able to talk to her about a lot of the things that he wishes he could, that he comes to me to talk about. And I feel bad a little bit, because it's like, oh my God, like I don't, what would that be like to not share that with Emilia? The fact that she's a podcaster, dude, we've been able to connect so much on like how hard that is. It is so much more than you think it is. And we say 5 episodes a week. Dude, and honestly, you know what that takes even more than me, because you've been the champion of that. But like weekly masterminds, we're on week 36, coming up on week 35, I'm sorry. 35 weeks, it's like a number, right? Just 35. You have no idea how many jeffings, how many failures, how many late nights, how many post-ambles, preambles, how many technical, like camera, it's nonstop. Every week, 5 episodes a week, every week, forever. It's unreasonable. Dude, we can't take a week off.
No.
If you and I were like, oh, I just don't feel it this week, doesn't matter.
And like, again, I don't ever say this to like for ego. I
Right.
haven't taken a literal day off
Right.
years. I don't know the last time I took a day where I was like, I'm not going to do anything that has to get done.
I know.
And again, we all have different goals and we all have different journeys. And maybe you don't want to have the most successful podcast in the world. That's fine. It's not even what you want. It's about whether or not you're willing to do what it takes.
I know.
And that's the most impactful and powerful thing I can tell you. I want you to want to have the most successful podcast of all time.
Right.
Genuinely. I want you to do better than us.
Right.
Genuinely. But I also want you to understand that it's going to take more of you than anything you have ever experienced your entire life. You're going to come out a different person, a better person, albeit.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the most difficult thing, an overwhelming thing you have ever experienced in your entire life. It's not about what you want. It's about, are you capable of becoming the person who can do it? That's my takeaway for this episode. I don't care what you want. I care whether or not you're capable of becoming that human.
Right.
And leveling up over and over and over again.
Is that the one takeaway to get to
That
the
would
next
be
level?
that would be that would be it. Don't want the result. Okay. Understand the result you want, but understand at an even deeper level, to the best of your ability, how much it's going to take for you to get it.
Right. That mine's the same. It's easy to want to own a business. It's easy to want to start a podcast. It's easy to want to be in shape or win a bodybuilding show. It's easy to want a $100,000 car. Okay, if you want a big house, nice cars, if you want those things, that's great. Desire's great. Do you also want what Kevin just described about not taking a single day off for the last 3.5, 4 years? That's the thing that I want to get across really quickly. And this is not about Kevin and I. We just talk about our own experience because that's the only thing we can really, really, really relate to.
We know it's true.
We know it's true. I cannot remember the last time where I did not do something for this podcast, for this mission, for this community. And I genuinely had to leave a relationship because I realized that I'm not going to be able to stay with someone like this who lives so differently than I do and have success. Wanting to succeed is easy. Wanting what is required of you to succeed is the hard part. Make sure you're not wanting success without also wanting what is required of you. And it will be the most challenging thing you've ever done in your entire life, but it will also be the most rewarding thing you've ever done in your entire life. And I do believe those two go hand in hand. I don't think the easy road will ever make you fulfilled.
Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan and I are both doing weekly coaching. So for me, if you have a podcast and you want to get to the next level, and maybe you want to turn this into your career. If you want to turn your podcast into your career, I can help you. Alan and I turned Hyperconscious, which is now Next Level University, from nothing into a 6-figure business. We can help you do the same. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of grinding, but at least you'll have the right support and you'll know the cheat codes that we wish we knew early on. DM me. Even if you're a new podcaster and you don't have the money to do like the full thing, we can jump on the phone for weekly or bi-weekly calls just to add value. Again, we wouldn't be where we are now without the right guidance.
Right.
The right guidance will help you so much.
We would not be who or where we are without Dave,
For sure.
without Evan, without the mentors that we have in our corner. You are no different. And the humility, you need to have the humility to know that you need help. My coaching is business consulting, but I also can help you grow your podcast, mostly the business side. If you're an early entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, please just reach out. Starting a business is one of the hardest things in the entire world. Again, Tony Robbins talks about how 96% of all businesses fail within a 10-year period. I'm all for starting a business and helping you do that, but do not do it alone. Doing it alone, if you're doing it alone, you will lose. I had my Aunt Joanne. I had Jeff. I had, mentors on mentors, and I still was very close to losing. You need guidance. Also, every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, join us for our Next Level Masterminds. Meet like-minded, growth-minded community of people who all are chasing dreams. This is a lonely journey if you don't have the right people in your corner. There's nothing more important than that. Please join us. Ask questions. Meet people. And the last thing I'll say here, if you need help, reach out to Kevin or I. We will help you. That's why we do what we do. We need help just as much as you do, but we're going to people that are farther along on the journey than we are. And, if you're getting coached or consulted by Kevin and I, you're actually being coached in a weird way by Dave Meltzer, by Evan Carmichael, by Michael Burt, by all the people that we get to spend our time with. And we're going to help you as much as we possibly can.
And that mastermind Alan spoke about is going to be the top 10 things you needed to learn in school, but you didn't. That will be Monday, December 14th. We don't have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you in the next one.
Talk to you soon.